I don't think anybody beats Inoue. You know, the monster is the monster, and he's the monster for a reason. And I'm really blessed to have, pound for pound, well, the three hardest punches in boxing, and that's Inoue, Beterbiev, and Tyson Fury. So my fighters don't mess around. They just come out to knock the hell out of the other guy.
He has a chance. It's gonna. I was over in Philadelphia a few months ago, and he was already up to sparring 8 rounds and stuff. Maybe like 10 weeks ago, probably. Stephen Fulton's someone who's very, very fit. He's got, in terms of his lung capacity and what he does on when we go out and runs and stuff, like he smoked everyone. When I sparred him, he was someone who I thought was kind of slick Philly boxer, hard to nail and hard to pin down. And some of the fights against Figueroa, was it? Yeah, some of the fights against Figueroa, there was a lot of like dog in him where he had to stand and fight and threw a lot of leather. I didn't know he had that in his locker, so he never even showed that to me on the night. I thought he was just an out and out boxer. So he can do a bit of both. I said that when Inoue fought Donaire, I says, I'm not just saying this because Donaire is my friend. Donaire has a real chance here, genuinely. And in the first fight, he put up a really good performance. And I meant that. I genuinely meant that, and people laughed at me. Stephen Fulton has more than a chance of winning this fight. He's going to be up against it, and being in Japan, everything else. I imagine he's getting extremely well paid, which he deserves as a unified champion. But he has a chance. He is a real live dog in this fight. He's beaten a number of undefeated fighters. If you look at the list of fighters and opponents that he's beaten throughout his career, he hasn't really ever had it easy. He has a chance, and I'm hoping he can pull it off. I genuinely hope he can. It's going to be difficult, but yeah, I hope that he can do the business.
That's a great fight also. I mean, I think that's one of the best fights on the calendar. Besides Crawford Spence, that's probably the fight that's on the schedule that I personally am most looking forward to. So that fight's in Japan, so which means here in the United States. I know you guys in the UK are used to this, but for us, it'll be probably like around 6 in the morning or something like that, or 5 in the morning, I guess. Like, that's one of the times, like, there's been a lot of fights that we're fortunate to get available on our platforms here in America that take place in Japan. A lot of them on ESPN Plus. Being honest, a lot of times I sleep in, and when I wake up, I watch the fight without knowing the result. I'm setting my alarm for Inoue and Fulton. I'm getting up early for that one, no doubt about it. It's a great matchup. You have the undisputed bantamweight champion Naoya Inoue, who vacated the titles, who's, I guess I would say at worst he's like, number 3 on the pound for pound list, and he's not just going to a new weight class and taking on some regular guy. He's going to the new weight class and he's taking on literally the number 1 guy. I don't think there's any argument at this moment in time that the number 1 fighter at 122 is Stephen Fulton, who's got 2 of the titles. And has put together, in recent years, a pretty good resume. And here's a guy in Fulton. He's not like scared to go to Japan. He wanted this. Like he pushed it. Like his people, they were going to try to make a rematch between him and Brandon Figueroa. He was like, I have no problem fighting Figueroa, but I want Inoue. That's what I want. I mean, it's a much bigger fight in terms of the money. It's a much bigger fight in terms of what your legacy if you win. And it's such a great matchup. He was super excited, and not to continually name drop, but I also had a recent interview with Fulton for our podcast, which we haven't posted yet, which we will do so probably next week. But the sense of excitement in his voice about going to Japan to do this fight and do it even in front of his home fans and sort of prove them wrong. Like, this guy, in my mind, is just completely fearless about going over to Japan, and he knows what his skills are. And he knows he's tangling with one of the best fighters in boxing, one of the great, maybe body punchers of all time. But again, this has been a great year for boxing so far. I mean, I know there's a lot of shit we can dump all over and terrible things that happen and a lot of nonsense that goes on with fights that don't get made, and then back and forth between promoters that act like, that they don't care, or they get in each other's case about stuff, and all the, the social media negotiations that go on, and the ridiculous stuff that's been happening, or not happening, I should say, in the heavyweight division. But the rest of the sport, if you can have Naoya Inoue against Stephen Fulton and Errol Spence against Terrence Crawford in the span of a week, plus we've already had Tank Davis against Ryan Garcia and Benavidez against Plant, and we've had Lomachenko against Devin Haney, And we had Josh Taylor against Teofimo Lopez, and we've got Oscar Valdez challenging Emmanuel Navarrete coming up in August. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, 2, 3, 4 of those fights, but I'm naming like 6, 7, 8 fights. I mean, it's just a tremendous year for the sport, and most of the companies are putting their best foot forward, making the best fights that they can. And Inoue and Fulton is like a gift from the heavens in my mind. It's a beautiful fight, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, Inoue for me there in a tougher fight than some make think. And I say that people in the game know how good Fulton is, but you know, it's easy to say, oh, Inoue. If he was to destroy him, Inoue, he goes pound for pound number 1 for me.
I know, but I genuinely don't. You know, you could just discount Fulton because I've seen more of Inoue properly, and the wins on his record, the big fights that he's had, the big fight experience, and he's performed on there. So I'll probably lean towards Inoue, because he can box as well. He's not just a puncher, so I will just lean towards him. But if Stephen Fulton wins the fight, I'm not going to be shocked, and I don't see it as a huge shock. I just see it as it's one of these great fights that are happening now, and what have happened in the past, where you have 2 fighters that are both capable of beating each other, and that's all you want at top level boxing. That is what you want. When it's champion versus champions and things like that, that is what you want, and that's what you expect, because they should both be top quality champions in unifications. You know, sometimes you get world champions that are world champions because of the opportunity at that time against a weak world champion, and then they become world champion. And you know, but these are 2 top quality fighters. So I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I'm an Inoue fan. He never fails to disappoint, and yeah, I mean, I don't think I've got to put my neck out. I think there's only one winner. Listen, I think at that them weights at the lower levels is not a massive step up. Like I say, with fighters moving up through the weights is probably more beneficial to them in the end. They're not killing themselves through the weights. It's them kind of weights. It's the difference between 3 and 4 pound at times. So for him to move up 4 pounds, say it's a massive advantage, and not having to lose that.
I think it's a really good fight, and it will show us how good Inoue really is. Like, we already know how good he really is. I mean, but it's now one of them. It's going to be the size is going to be a big difference. Fulton is not just a clever boxer, like very clever, very smart. He can fight on the inside as well. It's a hard one to pick. I'd sway both sides when I try and pick the winner. I think it's going to be a very exciting fight, explosive, and yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see it.
Come on, I can't let you sit on the fence. Who's going to win?
If I had to pick, I'd go with Inoue, but not confidently, because Fulton's a good fighter, very smart, big, strong, but just the explosiveness is scary from Inoue. Whether he can bring this up to the weight, we'll soon see, but I can't back against him, to be honest.
Mira, creo que va a ser una gran pelea. Todos sabemos la calidad y el enfoque de Inoue cuando sube al ring, pero sabemos que Fulton está ya sentado en esa división, por lo tanto lo que puedo decir es que va a ser una gran pelea y que el público disfrute. Y realmente no soy conocedor del boxeo de Fulton, pero lo que he escuchado hasta ahora es que se puede complicar, y pues como dije anteriormente, yo estoy enfocado en mi pelea y no me detengo a mirar otras cosas. Por lo tanto, sé que va a ser una gran pelea, pero no me atrevo a darle un pronóstico.
It's going to be a great fight. We all know the quality that it is when it comes to Inoue. When he gets in the ring, he's very focused. With Fulton, though, we know that he's established in that division. And so, what I can say is that it's going to be a great fight. The fans are going to enjoy it, but I'm not really that much knowledgeable when it comes to Fulton and his boxing. What I've heard up to now is that it can be a very complicated fight. And like I've said before, I'm really focused on my fight, so I don't really stop to see other things. So I know it's going to be a great fight, but I don't really dare to give a prediction.
Love that fight, man. I think because of everything going on with Terrence and Errol, obviously we're not able to give that fight I think the just due that it deserves. I know that it's been promoted on its own and people appreciating things like that, but there's a level of excitement for Terrence and Errol that unfortunately that fight's happening so close to Inoue and Fulton that it's I think it's obviously it's gonna be its night on it. It's got its night of its own, and I hope that what happens in that fight, I honestly think that fight might deserve an instant replay as well. And hopefully if the instant replay is deserved and it's necessary, they create a space of its own for Inoue and Fulton. Another 50-50 fight for me, both guys have been consistent. The one thing that I really like about Fulton is he's shown us that he can do multiple things in a fight, and he can do multiple things depending on what's needed for the fight at hand. So honestly, we don't know what to expect from Fulton on fight night, except that he's going to be prepared. Which is why I think it's more of a 50-50 fight. I think a lot of people are siding on Inoue's power. And I can't deny the power, but I the Philly kid, he's gonna offset that power, and then what happens?